First up, August Alsina. Without August Alsina coming forward, we would have no idea about his affair or entanglement with Jada Pinkett Smith. Will and Jada have been married for 20 years, but it seems that they've been anything but conventional, and the pair have revealed that they have an open marriage. Alsina spilled the beans on his relationship with Jada while on Angela Yee's radio show. When speaking about Jada, he said, quote, "I totally gave myself to that relationship for years of my life, and I truly, really deeply love her." Alsina even claimed that Will gave the couple his blessing to be together, although Jada denies this. Jada admitted to having an affair with August, but downplayed it as an entanglement. During the Red Table Talk segment where they spoke of the affair, Will looked visibly angry about the situation, and pushed Jada to admit she did have a relationship with August. After admitting to cheating, Jada didn't really apologize or seem remorseful, she instead just deflected, saying, quote, "I was in a lot of pain, I was very broken," saying she only wanted to help August, but it turned into a relationship. Jada said that this entanglement with August happened while she and Will were on a break, and their marriage was really struggling. After Jada called their relationship an entanglement, Alsina told Vulture, quote, "If you look up the definition of an entanglement, it's a complex and difficult relationship. It was exactly that. I think it's just the language that probably stuck out to people." Adding, quote, "But I definitely have to agree with it being an entanglement. It definitely was something complicated, a complicated dynamic." Even though it doesn't seem like Jada is ashamed of anything that she did, it is strange that she tried to deny it, then downplayed it when she could not brush it off anymore. She's also been accused of using her husband's pain for clicks on her Facebook show, but we'll get more into that later. Next up, Will Smith. Since Jada started being so open about her life on her Facebook show, Red Table Talk, she has consistently embarrassed her husband, Will Smith. Most notably was that episode where they spoke about their marriage and the affair that Jada had with August. In that episode, Will admitted to his wife, quote, "The fact that I am talking to you is a miracle," clearly showcasing the tension in their marriage. And then Will went viral after that interview, and a meme called the quote, "Sad Will meme" spread quickly online. Will brushed off the commentary from that episode, saying he was not sad in that interview, rather he had a long day and was just very tired. He told GQ about the meme, quote, "I'm not sad, I'm effing exhausted." It seems that Will puts his relationship on the line for Jada and their marriage whenever asked, while she doesn't do the same. The most clear-cut case of this was his Oscar slap. Maybe he knew that if he didn't defend his wife in that moment, that would put another strain on their relationship. Will has also admitted that they're only in an open relationship because of Jada. Will has revealed their open marriage was Jada's idea, since she, quote, "has never believed in conventional marriage and had family members that had unconventional relationships." Jada has even shared private information regarding their intimate moments. When Jada had Gwyneth Paltrow on the Red Table Talk, Jada revealed that her intimate relationship with Will was struggling, and that it had been hard for them to keep the spark alive. Jada said, quote, "The accountability part really hit for me because I think you expect your partner to know what you need, especially when it comes to Fans quickly came to Will's defense against her, calling out Jada for speaking so poorly of her husband. One person even tweeted a meme of Jada asking herself, quote, "I wonder how I can embarrass this man this month." Next up, Gabrielle Union. One of Jada's most notable feuds is with fellow actress Gabrielle Union. Neither woman could remember why they feuded in the first place, and Union recalled always feeling strange about the way Jada treated her. Jada decided to clear things up with Union on none other than her show Red Table Talk. Jada said on the show, quote, "She and I did not talk for 17 years and we could not remember why. There was just tension between us every time we would see each other. There was some moment that we had that it just left a bad taste in both of our mouths. When we got on the phone to try and figure out what it was, we could not figure it out." In 2018, Jada had Union on the show, where they finally put the beef to rest for good. The pair talked about their strange feud and how there was always tension between them, but neither had any reason to not be friendly. Smith said, quote, "It felt so good to even just go, hey, I'm sorry that I didn't even take the time to talk to you, and then I had to just apologize and just think to myself, damn Jada, that was some petty stuff." Union later told Today that she was not sure why Jada did not like her. She felt it was the media and other people that pitted them against one another, but thankfully they are on better terms now. Her kids. Jada and Will share 2 kids together, Jaden and Willow Smith. But there have been a lot of people who've doubted their parenting skills, including Child Protective Services. CPS showed up at their home to investigate after a picture showed 13-year-old Willow laying in bed with family friend Moises Arias, who was 20 at the time. While a source told Radar that the case was, quote, "being taken very seriously by the department," Jada told reporters, quote, "There was nothing indecent about that picture or that situation." Will and Jada's parenting style is pretty lax. Will admitted in the past the couple, quote, "do not punish when it comes to their kids." The couple says they would rather give them as much control over their lives as possible. adding, quote, "The way that we deal with our kids is that they are responsible for their lives. Our concept is, as young as possible, give them as much control over their lives as possible. And on the concept of punishment, our experience is that it has a little too much of a negative quality." Jada is also a fan of the ways parents discipline, telling Metro that it works pretty well. Although most kids would jump at the chance to have their parents stop nagging them. However, there might be times when it's appropriate to put limits on kids, as they might not understand the consequences of what's happening at that time. One example of this could be Jaden's past friendship with actress Zoe Kravitz. Zoe is 10 years older than Jaden, and Zoe admitted to hanging out with Jaden alone when he was just 14 years old. Although nothing inappropriate happened between them, other parents might want to limit that sort of interaction. Sheree Zampino. Sheree Zampino was married to Will Smith before he and Jada got married. The shady part is that Will and Jada started dating before he and Sheree were officially divorced. Jada's mother, Adrienne Banfield Jones, dished on Access, quote, "I think initially when Will first called you, I think he was still married or he was just separated, and I was like, he's not available to you." Jada added that Will was the div, and the orst didn't happen yet. But Jada later admitted that when she learned things were not finalized, she should have backed off. To make matters worse, Jada has claimed on multiple occasions that she never even wanted to marry Will. She only decided to go forward with it because she got pregnant. Her mother and Will thought that starting a family was the best idea, and Jada reluctantly agreed. Later, the couple agreed to an open marriage. And finally, Jada herself. So I think we all know what happened at the 2022 Oscars between Will Smith and Chris Rock, but I'll give you guys a quick refresher. While Rock was on stage to present an award, he made a joke about G.I. Jane, directed at Jada Pinkett Smith, because she had a bald head at the event. Initially, Will Smith laughed at the joke, but after seeing that his wife did not approve, he got up on the stage, interrupted Chris and the show, and slapped him in the face. Everyone was shocked, but later many came to Will's defense because Jada had been open about her struggles with alopecia. But a few days after the event, many were calling Jada a hypocrite. TikToks of hers that she made days before the show resurfaced, clapping back at those that made fun of her short hair. In one clip she said, quote, "She doesn't give two craps about what people say about her bald head." But clearly that's not true, or she would have been able to take the joke. In the rest of the video, she talks about how her hairstyling for so many years is part of the reason she developed alopecia. Jada shared that she was pressured to present her hair throughout her decades on the big screen and magazine covers. The treatments were used to give her straight hair, but they also caused her hair loss. That's not the only time her behavior has been a bit shady. The actress revealed that she can actually be pretty rude, specifically to people she loves the most. On an episode of her show Red Table Talk, she revealed that she's done so many horrible things to people she loves because of her ego, adding, quote, "Once my ego kicks in, we are in trouble. That Jada baby, she ain't cute, she's a vicious one, and she's mean." She also admitted that she got confrontational towards some of her husband's admirers, revealing, quote, "There was only like 1 or 2 times where I might have gotten a little hostile when I felt people stepped over a boundary that they were disrespectful. Now we got an issue." She did know that she is doing her best to improve these behaviors, but obviously we would hope that she would be nice to people all of the time.
Kris Jenner. Believe it or not, the Kardashian clan used to be super close to the Smith family, particularly because Kris's kids got along super well with Jada and Will's kids. In fact, Kendall and Jaden are still super close, but we never see the adults hanging out anymore. It's very likely that their friendship didn't survive the whole famous Khloe Kardashian, Tristan Thompson, Jordan Woods love triangle in 2019. After Jordan was exposed for making out with Khloe's ex Tristan, Jada decided to have Jordan on her talk show, Red Table Talk, to reveal her side of the story. The interview featured a ton of sympathy for Jordan as she said her piece about what went down. Jada and Will have known Jordan since she was born because her father worked on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Apparently, after the allegations came to light, Jordan came to Jada asking for help. Quote, "I just wanted her to have a platform to tell her story. That's it. She's a young, beautiful woman inside and out, and me having been a young girl, we sometimes get into situations that we don't necessarily know how to handle." It's likely that all this sympathy towards Jordan led the Kardashian matriarch to cut ties with Jada, as they were never seen getting close after the incident. Promptly after the interview, the Jenners and the Kardashians all unfollowed Jada and Will on Instagram and vice versa. That being said, they still let their kids hang out, as Jaden was spotted at Kendall's infamous controversial 2020 birthday bash. Next up is Olivia Jade. While there's no overt animosity between Jada and Olivia Jade, there was definitely some very public discussion of having her on the Red Table Talk show. after the college admissions scandal that put Olivia Jade's mother, Lori Loughlin, in jail for attempting to cheat her daughter's way into college. Olivia Jade attempted to go onto Red Table Talk to set records straight. She went onto the talk show in 2020, and Jada's co-host, her own mother, was extremely public about her distaste for Olivia's appearance. Jada's mom stated, quote, "I fought it tooth and nail. I just found it really ironic that she chose 3 black women to reach out to for her redemption story. I feel like here we are, a white woman coming to a black woman for support when we don't get the same from them. It's bothersome to me on so many levels. Her being here is the epitome of white privilege to me. And honestly, it's hard not to see her point." The whole time Olivia Jade was on the show, she just kept talking about, "Oh, poor me. I didn't realize how privileged I am, blah blah blah." And Jada's mom let her have it. She told Olivia straight to her face, quote, "There is so much violent dehumanization that the black community has to go through on a daily basis, right? There's so much devastation, particularly this year, 2020, and everything being brought to the table. There is so much inequality and inequity that when you come to the table with something like this, it's like, child, please. I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted with everything we have to deal with as a community, and I just don't have the energy to put into the fact that you lost your endorsements and you're not in school right now." Whoa, I can't even imagine that going over super well on the friendship mark, especially considering this public blasting was broadcasted all over. Next up is Tom Segura. While this may be more towards Will Smith, Tom Segura has held absolutely nothing back when torching the Smith family online for the Oscars slap incident. Obviously, a lot of celebrities are ticked off at Will Smith right now, but Tom definitely brought his distaste for Jada into this rant. In a series of tweets, he said, quote, "Let me tell you this, man. The idea that you're entitled thinks because your feelings are hurt, you get to one of the all-time greats because you feel, and then the cowards, the spineless cowards that are in Hollywood and comedy. We have all the lists of the guys. It's insane. It's like a gross exaggeration. You see it all the time. I mean, you see entitlement everywhere, and that was on full display for the world to see. I have zero respect for that, and I feel like more people need to come out and say it. It's unacceptable." Damn. Tom, tell us how you really feel. That being said, it's unclear if the in question is Will or Jada. It could be either or both in this situation. Either way, I doubt Tom will be invited to any Smith family dinners in the near future. Next up is August Alsina. While I think maybe this one is a bit of a stretch because it's hard to hate someone who's actively keeping you relevant, I do think that August Alsina can't be happy with how his name has been dragged through the mud with this weird open marriage thing that he was involved with. He claimed to have dedicated years of his life to Jada after they had initially been introduced when Jaden brought him home as a friend. Although the two had their affair while Jada and Will were separated, it didn't stop the actor from writing an entire album called Entanglements about her. It has also just been announced that he's going to write a memoir about his time with Jada, which I am like 99% sure is to A, keep him relevant, and B, to drag Will and Jada's name through the ringer. Next up is Sheree Zampino. Sheree Zampino is the ex-wife of Will Smith, who he had one son with named Trey. Although this feud is largely over, Jada openly admitted to really disliking her husband's ex-wife, and the feeling was very mutual. When they began their relationship, Jada and Sheree hated each other. They had a lot of issues with their blended family, which basically meant them all co-parenting the kids that they all had with Will. Zampino recalls a moment when she had to speak to Will about their son Trey, but Jada picked up the phone. Quote, "You picked up the phone and I wasn't really respectful. You basically let me know, I don't really appreciate your tone, and I was like, it doesn't matter. And you hung up on me. I called back and I happened to say, bitch, you're living in the house that I picked out." The two then shared a laugh with one another, so I guess this one doesn't really count because they've definitely made amends with one another. Despite having an extremely rocky relationship to begin with, they seem to get over it for the sake of Will Smith and their kids. Okay, this next one is just for laughs, but Will Smith. I mean, God, they must have had an extremely hard time within their marriage because Jada, for better or for worse, constantly lays it out on the table. She airs her dirty laundry with Will genuinely constantly, and a lot of fans think that the Men in Black actor is so stricken with Jada that he won't see just how inappropriate her behavior is. For example, always on her talk show, Jada insinuated that Will doesn't know how to please her in bed when she was discussing intimacy with Gwyneth Paltrow. Also openly admitted to cheating on Will, and she had an extremely intimate relationship with Tupac Shakur despite her claiming never to have dated him. I can't imagine all that going over super well, especially when we, as the ever-watchful public, know all of these things. I think it would be a much easier pill to swallow if the entire internet weren't calling Will a but here we are. And now that the Oscars slap thing happened because Will was defending Jada's hair loss, it really does feel like a house that's so full of pretension and privilege that I think people have just kind of largely given up on the couple.
Number 10, affair with August. So by now, we all know Jada's affair with August Alsina, but it was a secret that she never wanted exposed, and something that she tried to deny up until the very last minute. This is how it all went down. While promoting his third album, August sat down with the Breakfast Club and claimed that the Smiths, whom he considers to be like his family, had an open marriage, and Will allegedly gave the singer permission to date Jada. Quote, "I actually sat down with Will and had a conversation. He gave me his blessing." He also admitted that they deeply love each other, but that he felt like not talking about their relationship was affecting him professionally and personally, because it was a secret that was weighing him down. This was explosive when it first came out, and it's clear that Jada would have prevented this if she could. Almost immediately, her publicist came out with statements denying any romantic involvement, stating that the claims were absolutely not true. But it was already too late to backtrack, and the couple finally decided to air out their dirty laundry and went on the Red Table Talk about a week later. Number 9, feud with Gabrielle Union. Unbeknownst to the world, Jada Pinkett Smith and Gabrielle Union were secretly not speaking to each other for almost 2 decades. The actresses, who both gained prominence in the late 90s, had a long-standing tension between them that led to a 17-year-long feud. Although neither of them can pinpoint the exact moment that caused the rift, both admit to feeling awkward around each other during this period. The two finally put an end to the silence in an episode of the Red Table Talk, where they both talked about how they've grown in terms of female relationships. Jada said, quote, "She and I did not talk for 17 years, and we could not remember why. There was just a tension between us every time we would see each other." She went on to say that there was some moment where they had left a bad taste in each other's mouths. Years later, when they finally got on the phone to figure out what exactly went wrong, they couldn't figure it out. Jada went on to suggest that it was probably just the two of them being young divas, but even they don't really know for sure. Number 8, Scientology school. This next one is super crazy. Leah Remini claimed that the Smiths founded a school based on Scientology. So to give some background, the couple opened the New Village Leadership Academy, a mysterious private school in Calabasas, California, that opened its doors in 2008 before quietly closing in 2013. While Jada furiously denied the allegations in a 2009 interview with Ebony magazine, quote, "All I can say is that it is not a Scientology school. Now, if you don't trust me and you are questioning my integrity, that's a whole different matter." But the Daily Beast actually spoke to 4 former teachers at the school who all admitted that Scientology is not only bled into the curriculum, but that it was essentially a Scientology school. Also, most of the teachers were followers of the controversial religion themselves, and there were pictures of L. Ron Hubbard hanging on the walls, who was a science fiction writer and founder of Scientology in the 70s. Not only that, but on the Academy's website, which has since been removed, it actually mentioned the study technology as, quote, "an educational model developed by L. Ron Hubbard." Number 7, investigated by CPS. This incident was not widely known at all because it happened in 2015 when Willow was barely a teenager. Jada admitted on the Red Table Talk in 2019 that she was furious after Child Protective Services showed up to the family home to investigate whether or not her daughter Willow was being starved. It all started when a 14-year-old Willow was photographed while lying in bed next to her shirtless family friend, who was 20 at the time. While she insisted that the photo was innocent, it was definitely extremely controversial, and CPS also thought so too. So they decided to intervene after the agency received a complaint accusing the Smiths of starving their teenager. When recalling the incident, Jada admitted that it was the first time she got really furious. Quote, "I was looking at the lady and the whole time I was thinking, you could be helping so many kids right now, and you're wasting your time with a child who has everything they need." According to the actress, both Willow and Jaden exhibited passive behavior throughout the visit and said that it was like their own personal protest to being investigated by the agency. Number 6, substance misuse. When Jada was young, she had some very real issues dealing with the addiction that came with substance misuse. She also acknowledged that she drank excessively and used all kinds of narcotics. Quote, "For me, drinking red wine was like drinking a glass of water. I drank a lot in high school, and then I went on to mix everything up." She then recalls a time that she mixed a variety of illicit illicit substances that are a dangerous combination when used together. While on her talk show, she recounted before her mother and daughter that she was high functioning during the week and consumed almost no alcohol for several days, but spent her weekends at parties. Quote, "From Thursday to Monday morning, it was non-stop. Things went on like this for a while, until one episode that changed everything forever. It was in 1996, during the filming of The Nutty Professor, that a young Jada went to work still high off one of her partying binges, and she was in very bad condition. She went on to say that she passed out on set and told everyone it must have been from expired medication, and that was the wake-up call she needed. So when looking back on that time, she sees the whole thing as a miracle." Number 5. Marriage to Will. In December of 1997, the couple got married. A year later, Jaden, their first child, was born. In 2000, they became the parents of a girl they named Willow, although her marriage had already surpassed 2 decades, which is a really long time when you look at other Hollywood couples. There were many secrets about their real feelings towards each other that were kept hidden from the public eye. Jada eventually confessed that at first she did not want to marry Will. She was 3 months pregnant at the time and felt that she was pressured to say "I do." Quote, "I was so angry because they forced me to get married. So angry that I walked all the damn aisle to the altar crying." So on their wedding day, Jada got cold feet and actually didn't want to go through with it. There was also a time when their marriage hit rock bottom, and it happened when Will realized that his wife had cried for 45 days straight over their troubled marriage. Quote, "She would wake up and start crying. She did it for 45 consecutive days. I know this because I wrote it down in a diary." He also said that it was a time he felt worst in their marriage. This was very difficult for the actor because he had been trying to paint the picture of a perfect family, but it was only putting stress on the couple. Number 4. Leah Remini's accusations. In her memoir, Troublemaker, Leah recalls a time that she and her husband, Angelo, spent time at Tom Cruise's Beverly Hills mansion when he invited a group of well-known Scientologists and other celebrities, including the Smiths. This is where the story gets a little crazy. He announced to all the guests that he wanted to play hide and seek. Leah somehow got out of it and claimed that her stilettos were too high to run. While it sounds a little weird, in her book, Leah called the Smiths as more famous friends of the church, and even told the Daily Beast in 2017, quote, "I know Jada's in. She's been in Scientology a long time. I never saw Will there, but I saw Jada at the Celebrity Center." She even goes on to mention the Scientology school that they opened, and reveals that despite what Jada has been saying, that she is indeed good friends with Tom Cruise, and an active member of the controversial religion. Then on Watch What Happens Live in July 2017, Jada told Andy Cohen that the hide and seek story just wasn't true, and later posted on Twitter, quote, "I have studied Dianetics and appreciate the merits of study tech, but I am not a Scientologist." Number 3. Addiction to adult videos. The actress confessed a little known fact about her personal life. One of them was that she used to be addicted to sex. Quote, "My types of addictions jump from one side to the other. When I was younger, I thought I had some kind of sex addiction and that everything could be fixed with that." She claimed that she was addicted to adult movies at a time in her life when she had decided to practice abstinence, but her addiction got out of control and she was forced to stop consuming X-rated movies. She went on to say that she got hooked on hardcore movies that were very disturbing. Quote, "It's the behavior that's attached to it, because if you want to have a lot of sex, that's great, but why are you having all that sex? That's what you've got to look at." Jada also shared that once she took it too far when it came to pleasuring herself, and she admitted that while she was taking a break from men, she became way too addicted to doing it herself, and at her lowest, she was doing it 5 times a day, before she suddenly decided one day that it was enough because it had taken control of her life. Number 2. Issues with Chris Rock. Viewers of this year's Oscars were left completely in shock when Will infamously walked up on stage and slapped comedian Chris Rock across the face for making jokes about Jada. But what most people don't know is that the beef between the Smiths and Rock actually goes back several years, so the tension has always been there. Chris once took aim at Jada while he was hosting the 2016 Oscars, because the couple had very publicly decided to boycott the event. At the time, their protest was due to the fact that no actors of color were nominated for the 2nd year in a row. Chris said, quote, "Jada boycotting the Oscars is like me boycotting Rihanna's panties. I wasn't invited." He actually said this during his opening monologue, and it really seemed to sting the actress. The comedian also took a dig at Will at the very same time. He spoke about the actor's performance in the movie Concussion, saying that it's not fair that Will was this good and didn't get nominated, then added it's also not fair that Will was paid $20 million for Wild Wild West. It was such a burn that the couple was clearly not able to shake off. The open relationship. While on the Red Table Talk, some more very questionable things came out that exposed the nature of Will and Jada's relationship. Basically, Will implied that the couple's decision to open up their marriage was Jada's idea, because she told him that she never believed in conventional marriage. marriage, and that they needed to figure out how to make themselves happy individually. So it was almost like she told him that happiness can be found with other people. But Jada's affair with August started to make a bit more sense when she openly spoke about her disappointing sex life with Will. While talking with Gwyneth Paltrow, Jada outright said that keeping the spark alive in their marriage is hard, implying that although they've been married for almost 25 years, he still doesn't know exactly what she wants in the bedroom. Quote, "Because I think you expect your partner to know what you need, especially when it comes to sex. It's like, well, if you love me, you should know. You should read my mind. That's a huge pitfall." It must have been a little embarrassing for Will when Jada insinuated that he wasn't meeting her needs, but now it's obvious she was the one pushing for the open relationship.
At number 10, we have her forced marriage with Will Smith. Now, agree or disagree, but Jada herself has declared she got married unwillingly, and here's why. Much like everything else, Jada has openly discussed never wanting to initially marry Will, and because of this, a lot of people have made claims that Jada was wed under duress. However, Jada chalked it up to a far more reasonable explanation, and this was her being young and pregnant at the time. It's been stated how Jada's mother pushed her to tie the knot because she was fearful that Jada would never have the opportunity to get married if she didn't make that decision. Despite Jada's disapproval, the wedding still happened, and she never wanted a traditional marriage but had to compromise for Will's sake. She was going through various emotions at her 3-month term mark and even cried while going down the aisle because she was so angry with the idea of getting married. Not only was Jada against her marriage in general, she also disapproved of Will's luxurious lifestyle, and it's been detailed by sources that she was genuinely upset with Will when he bought their grand family home. If one didn't know any better, you could say their entire relationship seems forced at this point, but that's just a conspiracy theory and quite frankly, none of my business. At number 9, we have Jada being a huge attention seeker. Now this one is more of an observational theory rather than hard facts, but have you ever noticed how overly expressive she becomes when speaking about really personal things? Or how often she tries to shift the attention onto herself when it's really not about her? Well, maybe not, but according to multiple sources, this is exactly how Jada is, and they've used how she describes love to be one of their reasonings. Jada once said, the older she becomes, the more she's discovering what love truly is. Now there really isn't any harm in that statement, right? Maybe not. But it does say a lot about one's character when they've single-handedly used their deceased ex-lover and friend as a scapegoat for attention when they fall short. At least this is what those sources are saying about Jada. And that's putting it nicely. She's been described as somebody who drags Tupac's name through interviews at any given chance, where a lot of the times her late ex isn't even the topic of discussion, and Jada would just randomly mention him whenever she felt there was no spotlight on her. Again, this is more speculation, but why else would she continuously bring up someone she was close to who passed away? Wouldn't it hurt more to talk about them 24/7 rather than rarely or not at all? It's also been revealed that Jada got super pissed at Will at her 40th birthday party, which Will had been planning for 3 years prior. He had surprised her with a documentary he commissioned that chronicled her life. One would think this gesture of appreciation would work out in Will's favor, but it didn't. Jada and Will had it out after the party, and the incident was said to have popped off in their hotel when Will was reportedly shouted at and told that the event was one of the most disgusting displays of ego Jada had ever seen in her life. As a result, she and Will separated, as Will told her he was retiring from making her happy. I mean, that's one sure way to suck all the good vibes out of the room. At number 8, we have Jada's manipulation tactics. Now this is a big one, because of everything I looked into regarding Jada, the word manipulation came up a scary amount of times. Reasons why she's been referred to as such range from a multitude of things, many of which have to do with her husband. There's Jada's lack of reassurance to Will of her and Tupac's actual relationship at the time, to her claims that she and Tupac only kissed once and that there was nothing more there. But it was apparent Tupac had feelings for Jada. Yet Jada's own description of their relationship was quote weird. Jada no doubt strung Will along by being manipulative once she and Will started dating by casually trying to play off her situation with Tupac. In doing this, she had both their support and attention, hence the manipulation tactic. Jada used this excuse of not defining her relationship openly as an advantage for herself. With both of them by her side, the situation was manipulated to the point where no one could speculate any wrongdoing from her, while she still got what she wanted in the end. Some even say that Jada forced Will to transition to an open marriage down the road as another manipulation tactic for her being forced to marry him originally. At number 7, we have all the toxic energy which seems to surround Jada. I mean, seriously, get this girl some sage or something, because I'm positive many people will mutually agree with me. And the craziest part, there's lots of proof to back up the theory that Jada is just straight up toxic. One example is her IG post with her and Will's marriage counselor. Now there are a few things to get into from this one video, but to keep things short and sweet, Jada started rolling without even asking Will if he was ready. This raised a lot of concerns about how their marriage operates behind closed doors. Jada also called Will foolish and constantly made it seem as if his opinions were invalid during this. So despite many people thinking Jada is great, there are a whole lot more who feel she is one of the most toxic, foul Hollywood celebs out there, with good reason. There's also the accusation that Jada was behind Willow's letter to Tupac post, which randomly arose on Instagram and was deleted shortly after. The moral of the point here is that Jada knows she can do whatever she wants without repercussions, and Will always be by her side to fight. So she'll never leave or actually change her ways, and to me, that's toxic AF. If you ask anybody, people say Jada's overall attitude towards Will is actually because he was never anything more to her than a rebound, but we'll get into that in just a minute. At number 6, we have Jada's responsibility for her polygamous marriage. Will and Jada are currently in what we call an open relationship, which basically just means they're free to see and be with whoever they please but can't leave each other. Will stepped forward to disclose multiple times that he and Jada's marriage for them cannot feel like a prison, and this stemmed from rumors of Jada engaging in an affair with her Hawthorne castmate Mark Anthony, who was married to Jennifer Lopez at the time of their then unconfirmed incident. Jada's inappropriate affairs, despite not being full-blown, were said to be the cause of her and Will's marriage being forced open, basically so Jada could mess around with other people without catching any of the blame or downfall. So long as Will agreed, of course, which he did, by the way. And this may just be related to his previous statement of him saying he and Jada simply cannot get divorced. At number 5, we have the whole Future IG story mess, where Future made comments on Will and Jada's marriage after Jada opened up about intimacy on one of her Red Table talks to explain how a partner should know what she wants in the bedroom. Future first got involved after online memes started circulating about Will needing to hang out with him, who has a reputation for being involved with multiple women all the time, which implied that Will should learn to be more like Future in that sense. During her RTT, Jada described her partner's need to love her enough to know every part of her, which netizens thought implied Will didn't love her the way she was demanding. Twitter users also took her statements literally, which in turn sparked the whole debate of whether or not she embarrassed Will by saying she'd really bring Future to the Red Table. Charlemagne the God even questioned on his show once if Will was ever jealous of Jada and Tupac's relationship, where Will speaks about being insecure because of their tight bond. At number 4, we have Jada and her top-level narcissism. A user on Quora once described Jada as a histrionic, borderline narcissist, and their opinion on it in short is that Jada provokes Will's touch of feminism nature to bruise his ego. This user even explained why they feel Will has narcissistic tendencies and may even be one himself. They said, when you are involved with a highly narcissistic person, your mind is not your own. Jada said to Will, we're ride or die, bad marriage till the end. I knew then, they're both narcs. Will's masculinity suffered a narcissistic injury when Jada had a fling with a troubled young musician, a friend of her kid. Then Will went on Red Table to discuss it and she emasculated him. Will was triggered in the beginning by her obsession with Tupac. He took all of it out on Chris Rock when Jada gave him that look that triggered him to slap Chris. Chris was an easier target, that's my theory. Now, if we reel back to the public sharing of Willow's letter to Tupac, it made people feel like Jada was super self-absorbed for exploiting her daughter for her own selfish reasons. One YouTuber even commented on a video regarding Jada's behavior with the following: this woman somehow thinks she's a higher power, just out there healing the world, while realistically destroying all those close to her like narcissists do. Big yikes. At number 3, we have Jada's infidelity. Of course, she was out of line by her entanglement with August Alsina, especially because he was her son's friend and most likely vulnerable at the time. Plus, her messy affair with the R&B singer was later revealed by Will to have occurred after he and Jada were already separate. Despite this, Jada admitted to this affair of cheating when she and Will were not together but still married. But how she went about it was weird given what Will confirmed. She first made claims that Will gave his blessing for their affair, but the internet did not agree. It wasn't until Will publicly stepped forward to admit that Jada wasn't the only one being unfaithful that social media decided to ease up, though not by much. Still, people think Will's admission was a way to save face, but also to touch back on the rumors surrounding him and his Focus co-star Margot Robbie engaging in an affair of their own. Will's admission that he didn't give Jada permission to date because they weren't even together means their words, stories, and sides just aren't adding up. Regardless, Will says nothing Jada will do can ever change things for them now that they're open, because these were the terms they came to from the jump. Will and Jada are no longer described as married but as life partners instead. It's been detailed that Will may just be playing Jada's game because he doesn't want to lose her for good. At number 2, we have one of Hollywood's biggest drama queens. Well, Maybe that's a bit of a stretch here, but Jada is known for being one for the dramatics, and that's been noted because of her household full of drama. However, it's also been detailed that both Will and Jada are equally responsible for the drama that occurs in their home. Still, with all of Jada's major backlash every time she speaks, and being labeled as messy and difficult due to her outing intimate details of her relationship to the public with no real remorse for Will's feelings, it's safe to say that the majority of the public is leaning on the side of Jada being the chaos enabler. At number 1, we have Jada's lack of boundaries. This one is a no-brainer, I'm sure, because we all know Jada has a tendency to air it all out, whether it's intentional or not. Jada has been described as someone who overshares too much to the public, and this severely impacts her family. She's not very private about anything, which shows there are no boundaries in her relationships overall. In particular, she has no respect for Will by exposing everything about their relationship, which is just tasteless. And before you say this is unfair, we literally know everything we do know about them now because of Jada. She was the one who admitted to infidelity, which really should have been something Will was warned about before it went public, since Will was clearly caught off guard by the news of August telling the world he gave them permission. She was also the one talking openly about her intimacy once while her mother was present. Jada also constantly speaks so horribly about her marriage in general, so I'm sure you get the point now.
Starting off our list today at number 10, we have forced to marry Will, with Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith's marriage being the top subject when it comes to scandals over the last year. It's left us all wondering when Jada might just stop, grow up, and stop making jabs at her husband in an attempt to embarrass him any further. When the actress's reaction after the Oscar ceremony in 2022 was to condemn her husband for slapping Chris Rock, the incident led the press to review previously published content around the couple. And a video then re-emerged from 2018, where in it, Jada could be seen stating that she never wanted to get married and she was forced to marry Will because she was pregnant. The video would actually turn out to be an episode from her Red Table Talk podcast, which featured her, Will, their daughter Willow, and Jada's mother. In the interview, Jada would say she was under so much pressure and she didn't know what to do, but her mother forced her to marry Will. Number 9. Substance use. Back in 2021, Jada would candidly detail her past issues with substances and alcohol, where she would say that she was a walking miracle after kicking her addictions. During her Red Table Talk, Jada would open up about how she used to combine wine with other forms of substances when she developed a tolerance to solely drinking. She would then go on to say, I wasn't doing things that I thought were addictive, but I would do those 3 together. That was my cocktail. Your threshold becomes so high that what it takes for you to get to the place you need to get to, it will take me 2 bottles to get to, okay? If I do substances with alcohol at the same time, I get there faster and I can keep the feeling going. Jada then said she went cold turkey one day after she had a health scare on the set of the 1996 The Nutty Professor, as she passed out on set and made a total fool of herself. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 8. Comments about the Oscars. Just when the confrontation that happened between Will Smith and Chris Rock had become one of the most discussed topics around the world, a lot of people had their say on the comedian's joke and the actor's decision to respond by slapping the comedian. And if things couldn't get any better, Jada Pinkett Smith then broke her silence on the issue when she chose to write a message on her social media account saying, "This is a season for healing and I'm here for it." Though Jada didn't say anything during the controversial moment, she did, however, make sure she was in the center of it going forward, as she claimed that she hoped Will and Chris could eventually heal and reconcile one day, and that she never forced her husband to slap Chris. Her and Will were moving forward and were going to focus on their lives. But it all just seemed a little too sus, and she shouldn't have said anything, and she should have just more supported her husband through this hard time. Number 7. The controversial podcast. When it comes to the Red Table Talk, it's definitely a one-of-a-kind talk show that features a one-of-a-kind family. While the show was created with good intentions, as the family just wanted to create a safe space where they could talk about some pretty weird topics, the conversations have become real, raw, unfiltered conversations, where not only the family has exposed their darkest secrets, but other celebrities as well. And while the show has gone on to gain quite an impressive fan base, the in-depth conversations have become pretty controversial when it comes
to the hot button issues that are discussed, and it has hurt Jada's career to the point she can't even get casted in anything, and she really hasn't worked on anything since her role in the Scream franchise. Number 6. The Matrix controversy. The Matrix franchise is well known for revolutionizing the cinema world with its stunning visuals and graphics. From the very release of the first movie, The Matrix made an everlasting impact on the souls of the audience, with the franchise being represented well by Keanu Reeves and Carrie-Anne Moss. Did you know that the hit duo actually could have been represented by celebrity couple Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith? But since Will Smith refused to play the hit character of Neo in the blockbuster franchise, as the actor was in no mood to shoot another Alien movie after Independence Day, Jada Pinkett Smith would fail to be selected for the role, and she blames it on Will, as she didn't have any chemistry with Reeves, which resulted in her to lose the role. So it goes on to show that she just has trouble connecting with other people on set when they aren't her friend or family members. The actress did, however, go on to grab a role in the franchise after she lied about not being pregnant. Number 5. Scientology affiliation. Reports have been stating for years now that Jada Pinkett Smith has had strong ties to the Church of Scientology. Although she has never publicly subscribed to the belief system, many sources have claimed that not only did she once practice Scientology, but she was also heavily involved in it. The information would come to light after a former Scientologist told the Daily Mail that not only was Jada a member, but she was also a recruiter who was paid to lure people into the church. The source also went on to say Jada was always around the celebrity center, doing things her own way with Kelly Preston in the president's office. Tony Ortega, who has extensively covered celebrity involvement in Scientology, also said on his blog, The Underground Bunker, "We have known for years that the dedicated Scientology in the family was Jada Smith." And Jada's alleged connections to Scientology did not stop there. In fact, they only appeared to get stronger over time, as she also went on to open a private school for the church in one of her homes. Number 4. Too full of herself. When the Los Angeles Times caught up with Hubert to ask her to clarify her criticism of Jada, Hubert would claim that Jada and her husband clearly needed to get over themselves when she said, "You ain't all that, you're not kings and queens, you're not royalty, you're simply entertainers." But that's clearly not how the Smiths see it. Vivica A. Fox once even fought back tears as she spoke about Jada Pinkett Smith's remarks about her husband smacking Will Smith at the Academy Awards in 2022, when the actress said on an episode of Wendy Williams' show that Jada took no accountability for her role in the incident on her Red Table Talk. Fox then went on to explain she believes Jada played a part in the incident when she said, "Will was defending her honor. That's the reason he walked on the stage and slapped, because he felt like his wife had been offended." She then went on to note that because Jada took no accountability, it made her seem so self-righteous and full of herself. Number 3. Bad parenting. So before I get into the bad parenting aspect, I think it's worth mentioning that Will and Jada's kids once freaked out Sony executives to the point they emailed Will about the issues, and he just responded by saying everyone just disses his kids. However, Sony isn't the only ones to question Jada's and Will's parenting, as when Willow was pictured in bed with a 20-year-old man in 2014, it would spark a police investigation. Radar Online would then post an article where they would state the Los Angeles Department of Children and Family Services were looking into the snap of Willow, who was 13 at the time, that was posted online and then later deleted. Will and Jada were extremely cooperative with officials, but they weren't so happy that their parenting skills were under scrutiny. Jada would then break her silence about the issues and would say that there was nothing wrong with the picture or the situation. Number 2. The affair. It seems like just after the whole world was done talking about Jada's affair with her son's friend August Alsina, it would be brought out again after new details were released to the public earlier this month. As after August watched Chris Rock's Netflix special, he told the Post he thought it was not only funny, but it was also truthful. And that was the best part for him. So when Rock finally went public about his thoughts about being slapped by Will Smith at the 2022 Oscars in his Netflix comedy special Selective Outrage, he would speculate that Smith only smacked him not over his joke about Jada's baldness, but because he was unleashing built-up anger he had over his wife's affair. A source would then confirm that August was happy to see Chris Rock advocating the truth, as everyone has been against him since the whole affair was exposed. And considering Jada downplayed their relationship with her son's friend for 4 years, Will was led to believe that nothing was going on until she embarrassed him on the Red Table Talk, and since Hollywood has been wondering what kind of woman she exactly is, because she's not normal.
home, that's for sure. And coming in number 1 today, we have Not in Demand. After a promising breakout performance as Maureen in the 1997 film Scream 2, Jada's career looked to be heading in the right direction, but then it was stalled in the following years to come after she gained a role in the film Woo. Variety described it as being an unfunny comedy that brought out the worst in just about everybody involved in the film. In years to come, Jada was only able to land supporting roles, but her record with critics has been spotty at best. Despite her best efforts, studios have not been keen on casting her as a leading lady, and the only successful role she's been able to gain a leading role is for her voice work as Gloria on the animated film franchise Madagascar. She even did a really bad job playing Fish Mooney in Fox's DC crime drama Gotham. Starting off our list today in the number 10 spot, we have Toxic. Toxic femininity is usually less obvious than when you compare it to toxic masculinity, because much of it is masked by the display of insincere emotions, with Jada showing a history of passive aggression, backstabbing, display of jealousy, defaming other men or women, and using people to take an unfair advantage. She has been applauded by her bad behavior as people have labeled her to be empowering. Throughout her marriage, Jada has claimed that she was forced to get married and that she was crying when she had to walk down the aisle at 3 months pregnant with her first child. Within her relationships, the toxic femininity translates to emotional, verbal, and psychological abuse. Her overall behavior has even caused generational damage, and she needs to work on herself and heal her life so her children can understand what a healthy relationship is. Number 9. Clash with Snoop Dogg. In the wake of Kobe's passing in 2020, Jada Pinkett Smith wasn't afraid to call out Snoop Dogg over his comments towards Gayle King, and in the process she started a difficult conversation about misogyny after King mentioned a woman accused Kobe of unwanted advancements. Snoop then posted a video on his Instagram where he talked about the issues, and in it he insulted King's appearance before telling her, "Back off, B, before we come get you." As a result, Jada brought the rapper on her Red Table talk show to try to clear the air, where she would say, "When you first came out and said what you said, you know, in regards to Gayle, my heart dropped." Jada then explained to her old friend that when he said what he said, she felt hurt on behalf of all women. Snoop did end up apologizing to King after Jada embarrassed him on her show by taking to his Instagram to say, "When you're wrong, you gotta fix it. I was raised way better than that. So I would like to apologize to you publicly for the language that I use, calling you out of your name and just being disrespectful." But did Jada really have to embarrass him? Because this could have just been a private conversation between friends. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming at number 8, we have poor communication. During an episode of the Red Table Talk back in 2018, Will revealed that he had some pretty poor communication with Jada when they got into arguments, as she just likes to raise her voice and curse them out instead of speaking about their issues like normal people. Will then brought up a significant moment that launched their communication when he said that they were playing Pictionary with 20 other people, and this included Will's son Trey from his previous marriage. Will had his son on his lap, and at the time he was only 1 or 2 years old, and Jada cursed him out in front of everyone by saying, "Will, would you shut the F up?" It got so bad that Will even had to bring her into another room to explain to Jada that because of his upbringing, he didn't wish to be in a relationship that involved the use of profanities and violent language. Number 7. Dealing with Tupac. Even decades after his passing, people still have questions about what his relationship was with Jada Pinkett Smith, especially since Jada once said, "When we first met, I was a dealer. That's how we started." The actor then went on to say that something very bad made her leave that life behind. But while she was getting out, she was getting further involved with Tupac, and her relationship turned into a survival moment, as she even once had to bail out the rapper for $100,000. Their friendship still raises eyebrows today, especially since Will Smith admitted to being jealous of the late rapper, as in his mind he was tortured by their connection because Jada loved Pac, and this rendered him to the point he couldn't even be friends with Pac when he was still alive. Number 6. The open marriage. The Smiths have received a lot of scrutiny over their marriage, especially since Jada addressed the rumors surrounding it in 2009 when she told Atlanta's Q100, "I've heard all the things. Their marriage is not real. He's gay, she's gay. They swing." The actor then dismissed the idea that they had anything to prove. Then in an interview later with US Weekly, she would add on to her claims by adding that people are going to think whatever they wanted, and it was too hard to be in a pretend marriage. In recent years, however, they have admitted that they have an unconventional approach to their marriage, as when it comes to their relationships, they have chosen monogamy. On top of that, they've given each other trust and freedom with the belief that everybody has to find their own way, and they do this so their marriage just doesn't feel like a prison, but honestly, it just sounds like this was all Jada's choosing. Number 5. Took herself to the red table. In the aftermath of August Alsina's bombshell interview, Jada would admit that there was some healing that needed to take place, and she tweeted that she would be the subject of her next red table talk. She would then force Will to also make an appearance on the episode to share his side of the story, and he would just take everything in as she lied about being temporarily separated from Will when she had her affair with August. The couple then went on to reveal that they also reunited after August was out of the picture because Will and Jada realized they just couldn't stay away from each other. With the clip going viral quickly, Jada just kept repeating the word entanglement rather than using the word affair, and she quickly became an online target for jokes, as did a picture that supposedly showed Will in tears because this show embarrassed him to a T. Number 4. Stole Will away from his ex-wife. So before Will and Jada actually got married, Will Smith was in a previous relationship with Sheree Fletcher. And apparently before he and his ex-wife split, Jada actually started dating him. She even admitted to being a homewrecker when she said, "Because I did not understand marriage, I did not understand divorce. I probably should have fallen back, but she obviously didn't fall back as she just kept making advancements." During the process, she then became pretty standoffish when it came to his ex-wife over time, and at one point, Will even had to put her in her place over the issue after she had an argument with Fletcher over the phone. Will was not happy with Jada, and Jada would later say his take was that this is my son Trey's mother, and that's not your place, but Jada did make sure she wanted to put Fletcher in her place by making a point that she was the one and Fletcher was not. Number 3. Chris Rock. Before everything happened at the 2022 Oscars, Will and Jada Smith actually had history with Chris Rock, as Jada had been in a full-out feud with the comedian since the 90s, as their beef extends all the way back to 1997, when he took aim at Jada before she got married to Will on his late-night show called The Chris Rock Show. Rock would then begin his roast of Jada when he said, "You know, at the Million Woman March, there were moving speeches from people like Maxine Waters, Winnie Mandela, and here are some inspirational words from the lovely Jada Pinkett." Chris then went on to cut a clip of Jada at the march where she says, "I'm here today because this is an act of power, woman, okay?" She then whittled down a joke where she yelled the lyrics of The Roof is on Fire instead of her speech. He then picked on her again at the 2016 Oscars over her activism. Chris Rock knew something was up with her from the beginning, and that's why a lot of people didn't want to work with her, because she's controversial even when she's trying to do something good. Number 2. Hates woman. Jada's never been afraid to be vocal, especially when it comes to her Red Table talk show. In one episode, the world saw Jada note that she found it difficult to be interested in having relationships with white people, when she addressed that she was biased when it came to white women, especially if they had blonde hair, mostly because of bullying she was subjected to in school. She then went on to say, "I have to admit, I'm guilty to that to a certain degree because I do have my own biases, specifically to blonde women. Blonde hair on white women triggers me. I've had to catch myself." She then went on to address that she realized her own hypocrisy, as she stated that her past didn't give her the right to put all blonde women in the same category, but she was still going to continue doing it anyways. And coming in number 1 today, we have disrespectful. So when a clip resurfaced, it would show Jada Pinkett Smith underwhelmed reaction to a surprise birthday party Will Smith planned for 3 years, and the video would have the internet divided. When Jada's 37th birthday was over, Will took it upon himself to throw an extravagant birthday for her 40th birthday party. But when that date finally hit, things didn't go as well as Will was expecting things to go. In fact, her reaction was not ideal, and it made Will hit a low point in his life. Jada then ripped Will apart later on her Red Table talk show when she told the actor she was going through a midlife crisis, and she thought his gesture was just a ridiculous display of his ego. She felt like the party just wasn't for her. Everyone felt like Jada's response was rude and disrespectful, as he treated her like a queen and she really just ended up treating him like a peasant.